So, um, I just sat here for an hour and 2 minutes explaining the story of me being an abuse victim, and my microphone was not turned on throughout the whole thing, so that's pretty great. So, today is my first time actually talking to the camera, so I'm really awkward, but I hope this is not going to be as awkward as the first recording. That was very bad. But hi. My name is Alex, and I am an abuse victim. I'm posting this because after everything that had happened, my abuser came out and said that I was the abuser and I was a rapist and I was a terrible person. And while I know this is not going to change a lot of people's minds, and some people aren't even going to see this, but this is for me. I feel like I need to get something off of my chest, and that is by telling you what happened. And I'm really scatterbrained right now, so I'm really sorry if I backtrack or if I correct myself on something or, whatever. But I don't know. I guess I'll start out with I met them when I was in 7th grade. And I'm currently in 10th grade. So, and I always mix up the years, so I'm really not good with those, but you can do your own kind of math back there. But I always think about it, I'm like, it was this year, and then I forget about it. I'm like, what year was it? But so there's that. It's 2018, I am in 10th grade right now, so in 7th grade. I met them, and I was a huge fan of Homestuck, so I was wearing a Homestuck shirt. And they had saw it, and they complimented my shirt, and I got so excited because I was like, holy crap, another Homestuck fan. Like, I had never met another person who liked Homestuck in person. So, automatically, I was really, enthusiastic about them. So I sat with them all the time. I had gym with them, which was right after lunch, and I always sat with them. They always drew, we always drew together. And one day, my friend Elle, I'm not going to say her full name, because, but she had made a rape joke, and I was like, ha ha, and they'd informed me that rape jokes were very wrong. So after that, I've never made another rape joke or, laughed at one, and even that year, I, profusely, anytime someone would make a rape joke, I would go off on them, because I had been notified of the gravity of that situation. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I know that they might go and use that as something to demonize me. So I just wanted to get that out there. But I would sit with them and I would draw with them, and I had my best friend who's, I don't know if I'm allowed to use her name, because I have talked to her about making a video, but I never explicitly asked if I could use her name, so let's hope I don't slip up, because I don't know any editing software. So I'll call her P. So P and I were best friends, and we would roleplay together, and we would talk to each other, and all this sort of stuff. So when my abuser found out, they wanted to roleplay with me too. And I was Solix, and they were Nepeta, and they were laughing and stuff, and they said that they were gonna beat my ass in or something like that. And I said, ah ha ha, you little girl, or something like that. And I made a sexual joke, because I was like, oh, buckets. And then they were like, you're fucking dumb. And then later on, they had said that that was a rape joke, and I was like, they said that date, I had threatened to rape them because I said something. I was like, "You're just mad because you can't fill a bucket," or something. Because it was really dumb. I was one of those cringy fans. But I can't show you those messages because I had an iPhone 4 at the time, and then I had an iPhone 5, and now I have this phone right here. But so all of the messages that I will be discussing and everything, I don't have them anymore, which is pretty bad. But so after that, I feel like they would mention that too. So they often got really jealous about me being very close friends with Farron, because Farron was like really close to me, you know. I would always sit with them, and I knew them longer than I knew Farron longer. Damn it! I said her name. Fuck. I guess I'll ask her permission before I upload this then. So don't worry, I will ask her permission. But god damn it. But he and I were very close, so P and I were very close, so they saw that as, you know, something to be worried about. So they often tried to come between us, like whenever Farron would sit by me, they would try to get in between us. And we sat together at lunch and in the morning before class started. Throughout the days, throughout the days, they would often start petty things and tell me things that would make me, they would tell me things that would make me, like, see Farron differently. And nowadays, I am friends with Farron again, and I have concluded that all of those things were totally wrong. But, so, fret not. But, so I had a very clouded vision of Farron. And one day, Farron and I had grown apart, and we still sat at the same table though. And one day, Farron was like flicking little pieces of corn at us, and she sometimes got like her spork and like flicked a piece of corn at us or something. And they said, "Do that again and see what happens." So Farron flicked one more piece of corn, and then like for 5 minutes we just kind of sat there doing our own thing, and like she was in a conversation and I was in a conversation with him, you know. And then when Farron finally got up to take her tray, they got up and they followed 2 steps behind her, because we were at the end of the table and she was like farther down here. So they got up and they followed her. So she was walking to go throw her tray away. And they reached up and they grabbed her ponytail and they yanked her backwards, and her head hit the table and then hit the floor. And at that time, I was laughing at a joke that my friend M had made, and I was facing this way. So it had gone quiet during the conversation. I just figured they were like done talking or whatever. So Marcos was right here, and we were having a conversation with them. They went quiet. So, and I was talking with Marcos. Damn it, I said another name. I'm really bad at this. I'm sorry. This is my, like, fuck. So Farron had been really hurt and said that she thought that I was laughing at her, and I felt really bad. And I was like, no, you know, I felt terrible. And then my abuser started saying all of these other things, telling me lies about things that Farron has done and stuff like that. So I was like, you know, I just kind of dropped off. I didn't talk to Farron that much anymore. And sorry, I hear my sister running around in there. So I eventually stopped talking to Farron. And when I started talking to her again, I think we really got close again this year. She had told me that they constantly belittled her art, belittled her, made fun of her, bullied her, and after that happened, maybe about when I came out with the story, I was friends with him, and he mentioned that they also like physically like pushed him and like just petty stuff, and after an event happened in February, which I will get to later, he informed me that they had been lying about things that I did, which he very obviously knew were fake, and I knew were fake. But so where was I? Farron and I stopped being friends, and them and I started dating. And I should have realized from what they did that it was a bad idea, but I did not. The gravity of the situation had not really set in yet. So we started dating, and started dating at around Easter that year. So around that time, like we had known each other for a lot longer than before we started dating. So I was like, we would say I love you and stuff, and we were young, so it's pretty, But they would say I love you and stuff, and I was like, I love you too, and they said, no, you don't. And I would be like, whenever I told them that I cared about them, they would say, no, you don't. And that kind of thing. So I constantly felt invalidated. Whenever I would vent to them, they would say that they had it worse and that I should not be complaining. It was terrible. One time, they were messaging me, and it was at night, and they were talking to me, and they said that they were not real. And I was like, what do you mean? And they said, I'm not real. No one's real. You made all of us up because you're alone and you have no one and you wanted someone. They said that they were fake, that my friends were fake, that my parents were fake, and that I was all alone. And I felt so like, I don't know if I believed it or if it just like made me have an existential crisis. So I freaked out, and I was like, so you're not real, right? So why am I still here if I have no one? So I got off of my phone, and I severely contemplated suicide. Not to their knowledge, but I severely contemplated it. And the second that I had said that, I turned my phone on airplane mode, and I sat for at least an hour. And when I turned it back on, they had stopped all their cry typing, and they were talking completely normally, and they said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, stuff like that. Like, if you're gonna say something like that, then you have to mean it. But while after that, they were having a very bad day. They told me that I think it was their cousin had raped them. And I went to my parents, and my dad is a cop, so I tried to get him to do something, and they didn't do anything. So I was really pissed, and I was like so mad at them. I was like talking to them all the time, all that night, and I was like trying to help them, and they were like, you don't care, So, well, to clarify, they did put their hands in their pants, but I just want to be very clear with that. That's what they told me. But and after that, one night they hold on, let me adjust the brightness on this real quick. Okay, that's a little bit better, I think. But so one night they were messaging me and they were venting me and everything, and my phone had a block on it, so it would lose signal at 10 o'clock. And I had talked my mom into bumping it down to 11, so I made an hour more on that time. So they messaged me at about 10:30 saying that they were going to kill themselves. And then I spent till 10 to 11 messaging them and trying to call them, everything. And then when it was like, your message cannot deliver because it was 11, I went to my mom's room and I woke her up and I was like really upset. So I asked her to turn it back on because I had to do some project or something. So she turned it back on for the night, and I spent all night texting them. I think I sent maybe 30 text messages, and I called them maybe, I don't know, but, you know, and I had messaged my cousin Jay, and, he was helping me through it all night, and we almost called the police to make sure that they were okay. But we ended up not doing that because I didn't want them to be mad at me, because I was already walking on eggshells with them. I did not want to upset them. I did not want to, you know. And so I had stayed up all night on the phone with Jason, and I went to bed at about 11. So I went to bed at about 6, and I woke up at 11. My bad. So when I woke up, I looked at my phone, and I had gotten a message from them, and it was just hi. They didn't talk about what had happened. They didn't mention anything. And sorry, I just got something in my hair. But that happened. And speaking of getting things in my hair, one moment that I forgot before the suicide incident, I have an ex, and I'm gonna call him D. And him and I were friends after we broke up. And I was texting him one night because he was not doing so well. I was over at their house. And they knew that D was sex repulsed. And them being asexual thought it was really funny that he was repulsed by it and that they weren't. So, they took me into the bathroom and they got lotion or shampoo or something, and they had squirted it all over my face against my will, because I hate having stuff on my face. I hate having stuff in my hair. And they sent that to him, and it was why are you bothering him about this, And fucking chaotic, and I have so much stuff on my mind right now. I'm really sorry if I seem really scattered, but I'm trying to sort things out so I can try to get them at least a little bit in order. But I know around school, they would hug me and stuff in the hallways, and we would be told to stop because we were a couple after we started dating, Around maybe 2 months in, I was over at their house, and I was in a group chat on Kik, and it was called the Skeleton Crew. By the way, I really hope my mic is recording this right now. But, so I was in a group chat called the Skeleton Crew, and, they did not like that I was messaging them while I was over at their house, even though that they were on Tumblr, the whole time. So they took my phone, and, would not let me see what they were doing on it. They were messaging the group chat, and, I can get everyone's, yeah, that happened on that. But they had started messaging them on it, and then I got really upset and flustered because I wanted my phone back. I wanted to see what they were doing, And at one point they pushed me away, and they went into the bathroom and locked themselves in the bathroom. And then after that, they went into the living room, and I was like, what? So I went into the living room and I sat down, and were on the couch. So I laid next to them on the couch with like my face down, and I was laying in their lap. And when I looked back up, they were laughing. And I looked at my screen, and they had sent pictures of my ass to the group chat. So I start like freaking out because what the hell, you know? And I ended up snatching my phone, and I literally chucked it across the room because like I freaked out, and like I had an OtterBox on, so I was not worried about my phone at all. And I got up and I went over to it, and then they pushed me to the ground and got it, and then they ran into the bathroom and locked themselves in there for about 30 minutes. And that night I ended up changing my password and everything. But after that, they continued to always take my phone from me, no matter what I said, go on it, demand the password, and I was not allowed to even look at their phone or even play a game on it while they had it. One time before the incident in the cafeteria with I was texting her, and they tried to take my phone away from me. And I said no, because I was in the middle of a very embarrassing conversation with the roleplay. So they said no, and they took my phone from me, and I had to shut my phone off because it was on a one. You know the settings that iPhone have, and it's like 1 minute it has a password and 1 minute it doesn't. That was what I had, and they were like, okay, well, if it's on that setting, then I just need to wait a little bit. So I turned my phone off so it would require the password, and they took it and ran across the cafeteria and got in line, and they were really mad at me after they gave it back to me. But my bad. Soon after that, they got very sexual with me. And this was the first incident that ever happened. I was laying on their bed, and they put their hands down my pants after asking if it was okay, and it was completely consensual. After that, they made me feel almost guilty about it. Like, I felt bad about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how to explain it. I just felt like I'm sorry. Like, I didn't, you know? And, like, they were asexual, so I totally was not expecting anything sexual at all to happen in the relationship, so I was very shocked. But after that, they were like, I'm sorry, that was wrong, I shouldn't have done that. I was like, no, it's okay, you know? So I felt bad that they felt bad. But after that, we eventually started getting sexual, and this is where they started accusing me of raping them. This incident is the first time that I ever touched them, and I will explain it, so it's gonna get a little bit gross. But, so I was lying on top of them, and I was rubbing their belly, and apparently that was a turn-on for them. So they were moaning, and they asked me to put my hand in their pants. And they said, don't go inside of me. So I put my hand in their pants under their, I was like, is this okay? Because I was like off the edge of their underpants. And I was like, is this okay? And they said, yeah. So I went under their underpants. And my hand was like on them and rubbing them. And then like at one point my finger like went over their entrance. And then they were like, oh. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I never like done anything with anyone. I hadn't even messed with myself down there, so I was not prepared for anything. So when I stopped, they were like, I said don't go in, and I was like, did I get too close to it? I'm sorry. And they were like, no, you didn't. It was just really close. I'm sorry, but I liked it. You should do it again sometime. I'm sorry, I'm really sick. I'm just gonna go get a cough drop real quick. Okay, my bad. But, after we broke up, they had accused me of raping them 3 times. And fingering them 3 times after they told me not to. In reality, I had only fingered them 1 time, and it was 100% consensual. And I will explain that in a second. But, shortly after that, I was not allowed on their furniture. Whenever I would, like, go on their bed or on their couch, they would physically push me off their bed. And, I would go over, and I'm sorry, like, if you can hear this, it's gross. I would go over and I would sit on their couch, and they would get up off of their bed, and they would pull me off and pull me onto the floor, take my phone and go through my phone. And it was, you know, but, eventually they, ended up moving 2 houses down, so it was a new house. So I went over when they were visiting one time, because, their father ended up getting custody, so they went to visit their mom, who lived in the town that I live in. So I would go over whenever they came over to visit their mom. And, sorry, force of habit. So their brothers shared a room, and they weren't there at the time. They were visiting the father because they lived with the mother. And we were laying down in the bunk bed watching Orange is the New Black, and I remember specifically that it was the chicken. My bad. But I remember specifically that that was the chicken episode, because I kept on making chicken jokes. And at one point they started grinding on me. And, they grabbed my face like this. And they looked me dead in the eye, and they told me to fuck them. They said, fuck me. And that's weird to say right to a camera, but, so I was asking, is this okay, every few seconds, and I started fingering them. And maybe 5 minutes in, they yanked away, so I pulled my hand out, and I was like, are you okay? I'm so sorry. Because they were like, like, and I was like, I thought I did something wrong. They said, no, it was okay. They said, no, it was okay, your nails just hurt. And they said, something. So we just started laying down, And, one time way before this, my bad again, before that, we had a sexual encounter before that, and I ended up completely naked, and then they ended up, like, saying, like, I can't do this, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And then they like started ignoring me, so I felt really bad. And I was crying. I like covered myself up with a blanket and stuff, and I was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? I'm so sorry." And like I thought that I had upset them or something. I thought that I had pressured them, so I started crying because I'm a big ass crybaby. So I was crying, and I was like, "I'm so sorry if I pressured you. I really didn't mean to." And they said, "No, it's fine. Do you want to keep going?" And I said, "No." And that is where they started the rumor that I cried to pressure them into any sexual acts, which I only cried when I felt like I had pressured them, and after I had cried after it, I refused to do anything sexual with them. So there's that, and that is, they said that I had pressured them into sex, and that I had fingered them and raped them 3 times, which was the 3 times that they said I fingered them, when I only fingered them once. And every single sexual encounter I had done with them, there was a clear yes involved. But one time, I believe it was spring break, my parents were out on either a business trip or an anniversary trip. I forget what it was. So they came over, and we were supposed to stay at my grandparents' house. So we came down here first so I could pick up my stuff, because my grandparents live like right down there. And I was on the floor looking for something, and they got on the floor too. And they started fingering me, and they pushed me down onto my back and started fingering me. And I kept on saying, "No, stop, my grandma wants us to go now, we have to go now, my sister's gonna come in, we have to go, we have to stop it now." And I kept on saying it over and over and over again, and they did not stop until my sister walked in. And I was very upset, and it still, I never really said anything about it because I felt like it wasn't what I thought it was. Like, I felt like I had led them on. I felt like I had, said something that made them think that I wanted it, and like, I don't know, but I felt like it was. Sorry, my rat's playing, making noises. So after that, maybe a few months after that, we had hit almost 7 months dating, and the abuse was terrible. Every night I was having panic attacks, and like, they ended up breaking up with me, and that was fine. But 3 days later, they started ignoring me, and I was messaging them like, "Did I do something wrong? I'm so sorry, please talk to me." And they said that their goddess Aphrodite told them never speak to me again. So I'm sitting here, I'm distraught. I'm like, the love of my life, my best friend, is cutting me out of their life. So I was so upset, and that ended up being the first night that I actually severely hurt myself. And they didn't know about it, but yeah. And after that, they had said that I made fun of their beliefs, and I laughed at the goddess that they revered, which is Aphrodite, when I did not say anything disrespectful towards their beliefs. I was just very upset because they said that they were never going to talk to me again. And after that, they made a call-out post about me and said that I was an abuser and that I had raped them. And then I hit a low point. And I had like, they unfollowed me on everything, and I went private on everything. And then a little bit later, they requested to follow me on Instagram. I didn't believe it was them at first, but it was, and I felt like if I declined it, then they would get mad at me. So I went through and I deleted all of the vents on my account, because when they broke up with me, they said all you ever do is vent anyway. So I felt really bad about venting so much, so I deleted all of my vents. I deleted like selfies and stuff like that. So they followed me, and we went a while with just like messaging each other, like, you know, hey, how are you? Cool, you know, what's up? Sorry, my battery is at 25%. But so that happened, and then we started wait, I already said that, we were messaging on Kik, and, we fell off because I stopped trying. I was made very uncomfortable by seeing their name on my screen, so I was stopped. And every time I would message them, before I stopped talking to them, I remember this one night after I had been playing the Deadpool game, after their father had them move in, so it was long distance now at this point. I was messaging them, and they would leave me on open, and then maybe 20 minutes later they would respond with a screenshot from either Danganronpa or My Little Pony or something like that. And I would beg them and beg them and beg them to talk to me. I would be like, why are you doing this? I would just get another screenshot. But so eventually I stopped talking to them, and I had ended up, I changed my profile picture to black, and I thought they had blocked me, and I was very upset about it. And I had changed my name to Dead, because I really wanted to be dead at that time. I did not think that they would see it. I was hoping that they would not message me about it, but they did. And that very night, I had messaged a person with a profile picture that was Burger Pants from from Undertale. So I sent them a Burger Pants meme, and at 4 a.m, I had woken up and I was like half asleep, and I looked and it said, "Why are you doing this?" And I thought it was the person that I had messaged the meme to, and I was like, "What?" But I went to school and I looked back on it to see if they had messaged me again, and it turns out that it was my abuser messaging me. So I replied and I was like, what? And they were like, don't play coy. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't know what you mean. And they said, I'm not stupid. Quit acting like I am. And I said, I'm not acting like you're stupid, but I'm being stupid right now. I don't know what you mean. And it said, fine, I was going to help you, but I guess now I'm not. So they were acting like it was their help was something that they couldn't take away and tease me with. But that happened. And another thing I remember as I'm looking at this cat sticker on my laptop, when we were still together, when my cats were kittens, they would always play with them in a very violent manner. They would pick them up by their necks like this, and they would pick them up by their feet, and they would dangle them. And one time they took the boys and took them into and I'm really sorry because I'm very emotional right now, because the other week one of those kittens, my best friend, passed away. So looking back at that is especially hard for me right now. But so they took them and then they began to waterboard. They held the body under the running sink, and they held their face under the running sink for a few seconds. And like I was trying to reach and turn the sink off or grab the kitties from them, and they had pinned my arm against the wall, and I couldn't do anything about it, and I felt so bad. Every time they came over to my house, I would say an excuse as to why they couldn't go into the laundry room and see the kitten. Whether it was my mom said we can't, or like, you know. And it was, but back to where I was, we had stopped talking, and I had ended up making a new blog on Tumblr after the previous call out, and it was a suggestion blog. And I don't know if you're a fan of Tumblr or not, but there was this big thing going on. It was like, you know, it was this fad, and it was like these accounts, and I thought it was really cool, so I made one, and I would post like encouraging things, and I would post like events and stuff like that, and poetry, and eventually I received an anonymous message that said that this person is calling you a rapist. So I went to their account, and they said that I was their abuser, and I was a rapist. And they had death threats sent to me, and all sorts of kinds of threats. I was so distraught, I ended up leaving the account, and then I came back a few months later, and then I got more messages, and then I eventually deactivated it. And I had never mentioned my name. I had never mentioned where I live, anything like that. Like, I don't even. I think maybe the one thing I mentioned was like my eye color and my hair color. And like, I don't know if it was like my IP address or what, but they found me and I was terrified. At that moment, I had talked to my mom about filing harassment charges, but since I had deactivated, I did not have any proof. But nowadays, I am thinking about going and doing a polygraph test and taking them to court. If I ever get the money to, you know, but I don't have any solid proof because, like I said, I don't know if I said in this video or the other video that I recorded, but I have a new phone, so all of that is shot out the window. In February, I do an art event for a school event, and I think it was at White House, a town in my country, and they were there, and I saw them in the morning, and all day I stuck by P and M, and I was terrified. I stuck by P and M and H. I don't think I mentioned H in this video yet, so I'll do that real quick. H was in the 8th grade when we were in the 7th grade. H had a boyfriend, and my abuser did not like their boyfriend, so every time they would see H, they would take their arm, and they would write mine on their arm, and purposely cause fights between H and her current boyfriend. Because they had a crush on her, but I stuck by P and M and H, and after the judges had finished judging and setting out all of the artwork, the whole entire building went into the gym to get their artwork and load it up so they could head home. So I went up to my artwork, and I was sitting there and I was like so happy because I got like a really good score on it, and I was like so happy, and I was like yay. So I bent down to pick it up, and after I picked it up, I stood up and I turned around, and they were standing there, and they were looming over me, and they were staring at me, and like I was like, so I turned around and I hauled ass over to my friend, and they started following me, but eventually I lost them in the crowd. But yeah, and right now I have written a thing about everything that's happened, because one night I just could not sleep, so I decided to write everything down. And I'm gonna look over this in case I missed anything in which I just remembered I did miss something. In 7th grade, I was at the school dance, and I was there with friends, and they had messaged me after fully knowing that I had a problem with needles. They messaged me saying that they were going to self-harm with needles, and I will not get into that because I do not like talking about it, the needle stuff, but they went into very, very, very detailed talks about what they were going to do to themselves with those needles. So right now I'm going to find that article that I wrote, and it's in my notes. So okay, so I have a long thing. Oops. But while I write, I'll tell you that. Okay, that's it. But I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna skim this and see if I missed anything. They often pressure me into texting. I don't know if I mentioned that, but they often pressure me into stopping whatever I was doing in real life and saying, "Oh, I'm just bothering you. I'm nothing to you," all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the time they would post on their account, "Don't vague about me" and stuff, and then whenever I would vent, they would consider that vaguing. So then they proceeded to vague about me, and that was just a long ass cycle. And I wasn't venting about them, so then they accused me of venting about them, and then they vented about me, and it was, But I think I don't have anything new, I guess, but I update 1/3/2018. I'm talking about how I have been professionally diagnosed with severe anxiety, severe depression, and PTSD from the event. But I have been, that's it, but I have been considering taking this to court, polygraph test with all of. Okay, my phone just made a really weird noise. Or something like that. So, sorry. But, and I know several people who can back me up because they knew them. And only one of their friends knew me, but they are not on my side. But, only one of their friends ever interacted with me. But, MPJ KKTJ. No, I already said J, my bad. I know in my last video I listed about 12 people. F. My parents, which I did not list in that video, but they were there for a lot of it. H. Another H. I can't remember the other ones I listed, but there's that. But I know that I'm gonna get some negative feedback about this, and I am fully prepared for that. I just feel like this is helping me by getting this out there, and it's taking a load off of my chest, off of my shoulders. And I need to get this out if I'm ever gonna forget about it. I hope they don't see this, because I don't want them to provoke anything, and I hope everyone who sees this does not contact them unless they want to investigate themselves about these events. But I'm probably still forgetting stuff, but you know what? I've sat here for 48 minutes after doing an hour and 2-minute long video that ultimately failed ass. So I'm gonna call it done. Thank you for watching this. I really appreciate it, and hope you have an amazing day.